Greetings. It's amazing how things just fall into place. I was only thinking earlier today, I need to check with somebody who plays computer games and ask them a couple of questions. Those questions were, when you buy a game, does it have a leaflet that gives you the basic instructions, the object of the game, and so on? See, this reality is backwards. So when you come into this game, this reality in these avatars, the leaflet, the instructions are actually your intuition inside you. And of course then you're presented with an external realm that will play things out in a distorted way. But when you start to see the patterns, take for example these great big adverts made up of basically sections of wallpaper all put together that then give a picture. They are stuck to a thing, certainly in the UK, that is known as a hoarding. And that is exactly what that materialistic advertising, the bright lights to dazzle you, is really showing you. It is encouraging you to be hoarding material goods. Whatever the truth of the history that is put to you, just look at Tutankhamun. The only thing you really need to take out of that is you cannot take it with you, no matter how much wealth you accumulate. So we need to look at the patterns of things. Jason on Archaix Channel, in his, I think it's his most recent video, has shown there is a clear distinction. When you take the Bible, for example, and it is self-proving, it's there for you to check for yourselves. If you look at the Old Testament, you've got a mixture of historical events, which is the Anuna, which become the Amorites. Now, Amor, it's love. Amorite, the right love. That's basically what it's saying, and you'll see the picture when you look at all the ancient civilizations. As Jason quite rightly says, the Anuna are Caucasian-looking men with beards who go out into this primitive population after the flood, share this knowledge, and it benefits everybody. They're a benevolent society. If you think of it from a perspective of being primitive, just as with the practice runs for D-Day, in the stories we're told about that, how these local tribes in the Pacific who had no contact with the outside world now have got these gods that are falling from the sky who are giving out candy bars, and then they've made a religion out of it and depict basically the parachutes and the aircraft as these deities, and they're sort of looking up to the sky for them to come down again. So if you take this back in history, now you see the same sort of perspective. Now if you're faced with somebody who is a giant or a very much taller stature, maybe 8-9 foot, compared to people of maybe 5.5 foot, they're going to look like giants. Certainly, I think it's that Ripley's, believe it or not, there's a fiberglass representation of that 8-foot man who's very sort of famous. I can't think of the name. And I'm 6 foot, and an 8-foot looks like a giant. It's like, wow, it's impressive. So you imagine you've got these giant people who've got basically advanced technology. That's going to look like magic. Now think about the mobile phones with the backlighting. Well, there's an is real light being shown. Now, as Jason points out, there's no historical Moses. What has happened there? Now, I've said this a long time ago in a video, I seem to recall, that for a lie to exist, there has to be a foundation of truth on which that lie is built. You can't build a lie out of nothing. It has to be a truth, which is then twisted. So I cannot dismiss the whole Moses story as being a lie and as just being a concoction. Again, it fits the pattern. You're facing an opposition that lacks imagination, lacks creativity. It's got it from somewhere else. They've externalized an internal story of basically the Kundalini rising, the Christ consciousness, and it's been interpreted as an external event with real people. I refer also to this land of milk and honey. I highly recommend that you watch the latest video from True Love about Olivia Newton John. What has that got to do with this? We'll just watch and see, and also look what she links into with Bill Donahue, who explains the land of milk and honey. Now, I can talk about this conceptually and partially from experience. I'll put the link for this video in. This has only just come up the other day. It's possibly Neville Goddard's last lecture. Now, that is so simple in there. The name of God forever and ever is I am, and you cannot point to anything external of yourself and say I am. That is your name. That is part of the object of this game, to realize that you are a character that has come into this game. The background scene is playing out anyway. This is your training ground. This is for you to work your way through it, to find the balance in things, to see the contrast, to see the duality. And it is being shown. Once you see past that, basically like the advert and the hoarding, once you see past that superficiality of the material and see the spiritual meaning that is being shown to you, it opens up an entirely different picture. And of course, this all happens within oneself. There's always a macro and a micro. So what you've got with the Bible is a mixture of real history and esoteric teachings that have been inverted and externalized. So it tells a sort of a new story. It's exactly the same way a dream works, where events during the day are reinterpreted by the subconscious and played out and stitched together. And that's exactly what has happened with the stories that we have today that we're told are history. It is always a mixture of truth and lies. The authors of the modern day Bibles are the same authors that are doing exactly the same tactics, using slightly more technological ways of showing things, using more than just religious books. Now it's films and so on. But there seems to be both are operating through this, because just like the script writers have a certain power. Now, this was shown in a very early Doctor Who story. I think it's called The Toy Maker. And in this story, the TARDIS, if I remember this rightly, the TARDIS disappears. The outside walls of the TARDIS just vanish, and it's left with a centre console that the Doctor and his two companions are holding on to, the centre core of this time and relative dimension in space. And all around them is just a blank white. Now the toy maker, I think in this story, is writing a script, but then he gives the Doctor the book and the pen, and the Doctor soon realises and says to this toy maker, much to the toy maker's frustration, "You have given me equal power." That is exactly what you have when you realise that I am is you, because you cannot say anything without saying I am. It is what I've described as before something becomes manifest in this reality and is spoken or created into this material realm through a medium, so we say an artist, a creator of a YouTube channel. The EA, the old name for Enki, is EA. Back to Anuna again. Is speaking through one or other of these avatars, these vessels, and the EA has now got an identity. It has become an idea. It is the seed of thought that is planted within us. This is exactly what Neville Goddard talks about from a biblical perspective and uses the chapters and verses to show this. Exactly the same thing, but shown from a slightly different perspective. That is the whole object of this game, for you to realise that you are a creator. You have a back scene that is already there, on which you can co-create. There's the key word here, co-create. You got something created, and now you can assist in creating and adding to it and bringing in a more harmonious way of doing things. And of course it just radiates out from each of us in unseen ways. It's not all big show. Again, that's the mirror reflection, the Hollywood, the illusions. It's just see it as it's a mirror reflection. So as a reflection, it's not going to go left when you go left. It will go to its right, but it can't move until you move. That is a reflection of you. You empower it when you give it attention. Because if you've got your back to the mirror, have you got a reflection? It's a bit like this, does the tree make a sound if no one's there to hear? Well, likewise, if no one is looking in the mirror, what does the reflection do then? Does it even exist? Just another way of showing that you are the energy source that keeps all this going. It follows the same principle that Ken Wheeler talks about with a magnet that is self-feeding. Fear feeds fear. It is harvesting that energy from you every time you give attention to it. There's a very fine line between being aware of it and then giving energy to it. Being aware of what is being shown is one thing, but then absorbing and taking in a mind food called fear is not going to benefit you at all. It is going to put you in a lower conscious and negative state about things. And how do you feel about things when you're in that realm? I've been invited out tomorrow, so I've had to shift my days about. So I didn't really want to go out today. And of course it sets up an imbalance and in conflict in the mind, which manifests as that butterfly feeling as a panic attack. But I overcame it in two ways. One, as I'm walking, I'm aware that I am not this avatar, so I'm raising myself slightly so it feels less solid pressure on this avatar, and it sort of goes on an autopilot of walking. I'm now transferring the focus to the breathing, the one way that I can communicate most successfully with the avatar to then send a message to the other organs to calm down that butterfly feeling. Another great way was the interaction. As when I got into town, I made sure it's got to the stage I make sure I've got food with me to feed the pigeons and feed the starlings and the seagulls and things. And that is great for taking the mind off of focusing, because when you get that sensation, you don't then want to focus on it and it encourage that into a full-blown panic attack. That is going to lead to somewhere I don't want to lead. Maybe fainting, maybe finding that I've now got paramedics around me, or maybe even finding myself in a hospital. That's not the route I wish to take. So I do my co-creation by changing my state of mind. Again, back to Neville Goddard. You move state. So let's take, my mind's gone blank here. So, I'm trying to think, I can't actually think of one. Take a biblical character or a character that's reacting out of fear, out of fight or flight. That's not going to be clear thinking, that's survival mode. But it's getting the adrenaline going, it's turning you acidic inside. You want to be alkaline, you want to restore that balance and bring that inner peace and get rid of that anxiety and butterfly feeling. And the way to do that is, what does it say? The breathing life into Adam. Well, your avatar is your Adam. It's your Adamu. So you breathe life into it by bringing the breathing under control. You take control of the vessel. Otherwise, you've got a mutiny on that vessel because an emotion has now tipped you one way or the other. It sent you rocking. It sent you reeling in places you don't want to go. You are no longer captain of your vessel. You're not sitting in that center seat, that throne. That's where you really are, but you're asleep. And interestingly, again, Neville Goddard, I think he said it's Psalm 44:23. Well, 23, 5 senses. 44, it's a reference to 144, the 144 activated chakra petals in the first 6 chakras. And then through the crown multiplied by 1,000 gives you 144,000. It is not 144,000 external of you. It is 144 within you. Everything is within you. So I'm going to put links into these. I'll put links in the description for these channels I've mentioned in the specific videos. Half of this is doing that yin and yang, navigating your way through whatever is presented. Is it something that benefits me? Is there a spiritual benefit to me? Is it materialistic? Is it appealing to my egoic lower self? Is it trying to pull me down into this believing that I am the avatar? You are created in the image of an eternal being, therefore, by extension, you are an eternal being, so you cannot be the avatar. Therefore, you must be something within the avatar. The avatar is just a housing. You are a essence, you are a spirit, you are a soul. And it is all about that, finding that new balance. You've got your chakras shown to you, your 7 chakras. Where's the center of that one? Now look at the physical body in this external world and then apply the same. Where is the center? Which is the center chakra of the physical body? And you can see why it is all about raising up. But of course, it has to go to the root of the problem first. So it has to go down. It's a fall of man, is a fall of the Christ consciousness, that Kundalini rising. It has to go to a solid base. The rock, the foundation upon which you build, is your root chakra. Then that energy is magnetically drawn up. Your new center becomes your heart. You become heart-centered. You are of love. You are amour. You are an Amorite once more. You acknowledge your true ancestors that has been hidden from you. Now, whether you want to take this as just part of the Matrix game, or whether you want to see it as something that is outside of the Matrix, or even is there a Matrix outside the Matrix before you get to the real? And it is all real to real. It is a film being played out on which you can project and co-create and procreate. So we can turn this into something fantastically beautiful and bring about a garden. This is just a practice realm. Let's go with Jason's timeline, this chronology that he's shown, that let's aim for 2040. That gives you just under 18 years. Double 9. How many times have you been shown 66 and told it's something evil? You come out basically as a 6 shape, head first. A king doesn't have a king or a queen, is at the head. So it's flipping the polarity and becoming the 9. So what a beautiful time to start is always now. To change your polarity, to change your perspective on how you view this reality. The background scene is not going to change, but how you feel about it and how you can navigate through it definitely will. And I can assure you, and this is testimony, it becomes something magical, it becomes something positive. Yes, I did say about this is going to be half conceptual. The final part of the birth from above I have not had yet. I've had the other stages as described by Neville. So I'm within this 3.5 year period. Pay attention to those numbers and listen to the way Neville Goddard, Nevolution Channel, what's the other channel? Black Mad Guru Channel, and various others. Look at what True Love has shown. Look at what Archaix is showing. You want to sort out your history. Well, Jason has given you the chronology. That is invaluable because you can also now start applying those same patterns, because this is what it is all about. It is pattern making. The pattern man comes to mind. I can't even remember what that's to do with. But the pattern man is basically, you've got the Turin shroud, you've got a material background, you have an image burned into that material realm. That is you when you give life to it. That is what it is showing you, quite simply, as far as I can see. The world is a stage. You choose what character you want to play. You may, or we may just keep playing the same characters. It's all pretty. It's fun. If it's now coming to a choice of, do I want to get out of this or do I want to stay in it? I'm actually having fun, and I ain't going out of it alone. And I don't mean that in a negative way. I'm going to be a perfect gentleman and hold the door. If I find the exit, I'm going to hold the door open and say, look, here we are. It's up to you if you then take it. No one is going to, I'm not going to force you to take it. That is your free will, whether you want to go through that door. But when one door opens, one door closes. And certainly that is the case when you change your perception and your polarity on how you view this realm. And see it for what it really is and what it is shown to you. And it is actually benefiting you if you see past the superficial and material. Wow, that's rather a lot. We're up to 25 minutes, so much for a short video. But I feel it's important to say this and to share this. But yes, I've had that pushing out the back of the skull. It's a really weird sensation when you don't really know at the time what's happening. I've been given the sign. I've seen this David, this young baby. So I've been given the sign. I'm now seeing more signs. Whether you believe me or not, it doesn't matter. I'm just giving you a testimony of what I've seen with the mind's eye and what I've experienced and what I've felt. And if it helps unlock it for you, all well and good. But the choice is yours whether you want to believe it or not. I can only share what I've got. The testimonies I've got, the experiences I've got that I can now draw on. Because everything in this thing we call life from birth is an experience. They're chapters in a book on which you build upon. You're an individual idea. You're EA as an ID. You are an idea. You are an expression of one. Right, that is plenty long enough now. I hope that makes sense, and just leave any questions in the comments, and I'll put the links, like I say, in the description to all the videos I've mentioned in the channels. So love to you all, and I hope that has really helped inspire you to find that intuition, that inner voice within inside yourself, basically. Give it any label you want, but that's what it is. It's your inner gut feeling that is guiding you. That is your best guide. Not anybody else, not me, nothing external of you, within you, every time. Ta-ta for now.